What's up? It's Tom here with a knee-jerk reaction to the Minnesota Twins acquiring Baltimore starting pitcher Dean Kremer. And if I were to wrap up this trade in one word, it would be reckless. Reckless. My reaction was this, lady. What? What? Like, Dean Kremer on his own, upgrade for the rotation, sure. Maybe it doesn't move the needle a ton, but the Twins need a guy like that. Once I heard the return, what? Jhomnardo Reyes, which I understand, this is an 18-year-old kid. The Nard Dog is what I've been calling him. So, he's a little bit of a personal favorite of mine of late. Just got recently promoted up to Fort Myers, so I took a long look at him over at Limestone Pipeline on Patreon, shared this 10-minute video that was almost exclusively his first weekend. Every pitch he saw is in that video. Every defensive play he made is in that video. A very long scouting opportunity, and we ranked him in our midseason update at Limestone Pipeline as the Twins' number 16 prospect. Again, this is a guy 18 years old, miles away from the major leagues, but to back that up, Fangraphs has him number 10 prospect in the Twins system. Baseball America has him number 12 prospect in the Minnesota Twins system. So this is a very well-regarded prospect. Yes, it feels very boom or bust, but getting a chance to watch him play some more, I think he has some good foundational skills in terms of his strike zone recognition, his plate discipline, in addition to having a lot of the other exciting tools that you would think of from a well-regarded 18-year-old prospect. This is not the kind of guy that you would imagine it should take to get Dean Kremer, and I think there are front offices across baseball right now absolutely kicking themselves thinking, we could have gotten a guy like this for that? Again, it's tough. This guy's about to turn 19, only 18 years old. So there's not a lot of track record. He's got 105 career pro games. 50 of those were in the Dominican Summer League, which you can't really take any kind of context from. It's impossible. Was a well-regarded signee. So it's not like this. Some of the guys like this, they kind of came out of nowhere and they really weren't well-regarded coming out of the Dominican, but this guy was a well-regarded prospect. I wouldn't have been against trading him because, if you've been kind of keeping up with me on my deadline stuff, I'm all about moving bats. This is a very bat-heavy system. This is a very deep system. So to keep that in mind too, with him being 16th on our list, him being 10th or 12th, this is in a good system. In a bad system, Jhomnardo Reyes is comfortably in the top 10. In really, really bad systems, he might be a top 5 guy. You can't just put, basically my point there is you can't just put a number on a guy and just say he's that number everywhere. What? Moving on to Dean Kremer. Okay, yes, this guy has a track record. You see these years in green. That's a 4-year stretch in which Dean Kremer was a reliable starting pitcher, pitched plenty of innings. Certainly not a overpowering guy. A pretty heavy high fly ball pitcher for the most part. Some of these FIPs are not real good. 4.51, 4.32. But again, it's not very easy to find rotation help. This guy is rotation help. The Twins need some starting pitching. We'll get to some concerns in a moment. You see at the bottom, his 2026 numbers are garbage, but a complete outlier homer per 9 of 3 homers per 9. Giving up crazy home runs. And let's take a look at his savant sliders to show average exit velocity looks good. Hard hit rate looks good. The barrel rate is not great, but, it's not like this guy's been getting crushed. So I think we can, some of these other numbers don't look good. But, I don't think this guy is going to be a 3 homer per 9 guy. We'll put it that way. Also does come with an extra year of team control, so he's not a pending free agent. That's nice. Pablo Lopez, we should be expecting Pablo Lopez back next year. We should be expecting McAble back next year. Maybe David Festa will pitch again at some point. I don't know. There's probably other guys I'm forgetting that are in the picture. And Ryan Gallagher's the guy who's been pitching for the Saints, who's going to be in the conversation. You could always think about converting Andrew Morris back to a starting pitcher. It's not like, yes, the Twins needed starting pitching. It's not like 2027 is. This is where I'm getting worried. Let's get to my big picture concerns. I want to be super clear. This is all just like knee-jerk, me being galaxy-brained thinking about this and complete speculation, okay? I'm concerned that this is the rotation addition. And, Kremer definitely helps. Again, the Twins needed a guy in this picture. But if this is all they could do, it doesn't do much, which, hey, that's something. And if you take Reyes out of the picture, I get it. But trading Jhomnardo Reyes for this is reckless. Again, the Minter and Kremer additions will end up being, we tried. That's one of my big concerns. Well, we tried. Look, we added. And then they'll turn around and trade away Jeffers and or Larnach. Or this is like softening the blow for something else, and then we added, what do you mean? We added pitching. That's what we said we were going to do. And then they're going to trade away and turn around and trade some other guys. I get there's some logic to trading Ryan Jeffers. I get there's some logic to trading Trevor Larnach. But you're not going to be a better team if you trade away Ryan Jeffers and try Trevor Larnach and you're just pulling back guys like Minter and Kremer. You're not going to be better. I'm also concerned this just reeks of a move that was heavily influenced by Tom Pohlad, the Twins owner, and Derek Shelton, the Twins manager. It was really interesting to hear that, Tom Pohlad, we know, has been really involved, but it was really interesting to hear that Derek Shelton has been really involved in trade talks. I don't mind that at all from the perspective of, hey, we're thinking about adding this major leaguer. What do you think about that? Does he fit in? But if these guys are kind of having any influence about saying, oh, well, yeah, this guy's 18 years old, of course we want to trade him for a rotation upgrade, they don't have any kind of context or any kind of care about an 18-year-old prospect. For all we know, Tom Pohlad is trying to flip this team. This team is up for sale. So all of this kind of activity that Tom Pohlad is doing, if we take him, if we look at the Pohlad's history, for all we know, he's just trying to improve the price of the team so he can sell it, and in the shortest amount possible. I would not be shocked if Tom Pohlad doesn't care at all about an 18-year-old prospect and how when he's going to be in that window of potentially debuting. He's probably thinking, we'll have sold the team by then. Who cares? Derek Shelton, same thing. He's probably thinking, I'll get fired by then if things don't go well. So, and this makes me wonder, does Jeremy Zoll feel like he's on the hot seat? And that would be a really easy thing to assume because he kind of just was given this job out of nowhere, landed in his lap. Derek Falvey kind of abruptly just quit out of nowhere, essentially. And so Jeremy Zoll didn't really earn this promotion or anything. So I don't know if he's feeling the heat and really feeling pressure to make things happen in 2026 and kind of also had that same mentality of hey, maybe this guy will be good. I might not be around to see it, so what do I care? It's just a really, again, I think you can tell I'm pretty freaked out by this deal. I really don't like this. I think Baltimore won by a landslide. I think there is not that much chance for the Twins to look back at this and think this was a grand slam move. There is a lot of potential for Baltimore to look back at this trade and be holy crap, how did we pull this off? Give that GM a lifetime contract. If this doesn't go well, Jhomnardo Reyes, we could be looking back and be he was the best prospect in the system at this point. That's extreme. That's an extreme take, but that's the risk that you're taking with these guys who are this young and have shown some potential and show that he has some baseball skill. That is really galaxy brain. That is really, that is really disaster-minded thinking, but he's 18 years old. He's about to be 19. He's in single A. I'm only this freaked out about it because I'm a prospect nerd, but this feels like a really bad decision. And again, maybe it doesn't bite them at all. Maybe Kremer goes back to his prior form, which would be a nice piece. Not like a top of the rotation guy, not a guy you feel comfortable starting a playoff game though. And maybe Reyes just completely fizzles out. There's plenty of guys that are hot prospects as teenagers, come up and maybe look good even in full season ball, even in single A, and then get exposed on their way up. It's a long climb. and Jhomnardo Reyes has a long way to go. But I just feel like, and again, I wasn't against trading him. I wasn't totally against the idea of trading him, but I feel like you had to get something more than Dean Kremer. So it's going to be really interesting. This feels like the transition from Terry Ryan to Bill Smith right now, when all of a sudden you had a new GM. He was put in a weird spot where there were a lot of decisions that had to happen, and the Twins were like a totally different organization for a short period. While he was GM, made a lot of really aggressive moves, a lot of really moves you wouldn't expect the Twins to make. A lot of things didn't work out, but again, Bill Smith was kind of put in a tough situation to give him some, grace. And this kind of feels like another weird pivot point maybe, and we didn't get to see what this was going to look like in the offseason because Derek Falvey left so late. We didn't get to see what, and really Tom Pohlad stepping in happened late in the offseason. So we didn't really get to see, okay, what's a Tom Pohlad, as the point guy? What does that look like for the Twins? What does Jeremy Zoll as the point guy look like for the Twins? I think we're seeing maybe this is going to be an outlier, and this won't. I'm super. No matter what's going on, I am absolutely fascinated to see what's happening here. And kind of going back to yesterday's trade with AJ Minter, I think there's a really low possibility, even though I think the Mets won that trade, there's a very low possibility I think that the Twins are going to really regret trading away Billy Amick and Bruin Egbayani. But Egbayani also has a lot of upside too as a 19-year-old guy who showed some promise and a decently high draft pick. So it's not like that's completely a no-risk trade. This one, I do think there's a pretty fair chance that the Twins look back at this and are like, oh my God, what a disaster move that was. So this is just like extremely high risk, very low space for reward trade. And again, reckless. That's the things I get back to. This feels really reckless. This feels like a decision that was made by a bunch of people who don't care about what things look like, 4 or 5 years from now, by the time Jhomnardo Reyes is going to be, closer to knocking on the door of the big leagues. So I'm pretty freaked out. Anyway, again, if you want to learn more about the prospects the Twins are eventually trading away, check out Limestone Pipeline. I invested a good amount of time building that Jhomnardo Reyes reel. I guess that was all in vain now. Maybe some Baltimore fans will subscribe for a month for $4 and to check that one out. But if any Orioles fan made it this long, congratulations on the dub. I guess one other thing is this kind of pushes Baltimore out of the AL, the AL wildcard picture, which they're right in there with the Twins. So maybe that's another thing to keep an eye out for. But again, I'm pretty blindsided by this one. Thanks for checking this out. Let me know what you think. We'll talk again soon.